Embarrassing, shameful, humiliating, mortifying.
Are you reading your tweet right now?
Brutal, awful, terrible. We're here. The Broncos did not show up today, but we did. Mm-hmm. We did. And, I mean, at what point, guys, did the disgusting, awful turn into just like laughs? Like, holy shit. This is really again? Wait, again? 40, 50, 60. At what time for you guys was it like, oh my God?
I think it was some of the runs toward the third quarter where he was just breaking them wide open. It didn't matter who was in the backfield, but every run felt like it could have been a touchdown. And every time they had the ball, you knew they were going to score. It just became laughable. Like it literally felt like the Miami Dolphins took the Denver Broncos, sat them over their knee, and just started spanking until they couldn't take it anymore. Until the clock ran out.
They're still taking it right now.
Oh my goodness. I mean, somehow like Raheem Mosert. I don't even know who Raheem Mosert is. Devon A-Chain is like Bo Jackson. I don't know who's better than that. Like, I'm at the point where like I don't even know what to compare that to. Like we've never seen anything like that before. I mean the 70 points, somebody gave up 72. Washington back in the day gave up 72 in 1966. Nobody watched that game. Like this is the worst football game I think that
ever.
Yeah,
I've ever seen for sure.
Of any of us, most of you watching probably. Like how could it get worse?
There wasn't even color TV the last time a team scored more than the Dolphins did against the Broncos today.
If anybody in the chat remembers anything about that Washington game, let us know. Like if anybody actually watched that game.
Yeah.
Might have an old man.
Because this is one for all the wrong reasons.
Yep.
We'll all remember. I'm happy that I got to watch it with you two. I'll always remember that. And this was just as bad as it can get, and it started right away, and it didn't end until the clock hit 0. And even when the clock hit 0, that still was embarrassing because the Miami Dolphins took a knee
on fourth down.
On fourth down, not to drain the clock out, to give the ball back to the Broncos instead of making it a historic day. The Dolphins should have set the record for most points ever scored in a game. And Tua was long off the field at that point. We're talking Mike White was in. How many points did they get? 14, 21?
21
when their
points.
Backups were in?
Yep.
Just, there's seriously no words. Look at a dictionary, and you could just look at every single word, and there's no word that would be too intense for this Broncos
I dare you to do it.
Oh, I can.
Look through every word. See which one your favorite is.
We're lost right here. I mean, the Broncos, this is the worst football game I've ever watched or ever seen or ever been a part of. And like you said, the Dolphins should have set the record. They were gentlemen at the end by not taking those last 3 points. That was terrible, man. I think every part about it, and it wasn't just a run defense, it was a pass defense. It was every piece of the game. I mean, if Marvin Mims doesn't score that touchdown, we lose by more than 50 points. Like
50 points.
That's crazy to me.
I want to just talk about Marvin Mims for an hour. I know we can't. I know we can't. But I would love to just talk about Marvin Mims for an hour.
We will talk about Marvin Mims because the only bright spot of this game, probably the only bright spot.
And Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a great day.
I don't think he had a great day.
Really?
No, I think he. 2 of the first 3 drives, I think, were pretty good. But then, I mean, he cooled off just like the rest of the Broncos.
Okay.
Henry, they scored 20 points.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
No,
but
13,
I mean, they also,
13, really.
Russell.
13.
I'm not talking about the offense, though. I'm talking about Russell.
But your quarterback leads your team.
Yeah.
I can't say the quarterback had a great day when you scored 13 points on offense. But we're still talking about history here. What's worse, guys? Let me just throw some historical things out. We talk about, and what's going to get the most attention, as it should, 70 points, almost the most points scored in NFL history. It's the most points scored in the past 60 years in the NFL. So there's that. The Broncos also almost gave up the most yards that an NFL team has ever given up. I believe they were 5 away at one point. Then once the Dolphins took the knee, I think it probably ended, they were like 10 or 15 shy. I gave up over 720 yards to the Miami Dolphins offense. So that's almost historic. They lose by 50 points. 50-point loss. If you give up 50 points, that's awful. You get beat by 50? I can't even comprehend that. Also, the Broncos give up 350 passing yards and 350 rushing yards. That might be the first time that that's ever happened in NFL history. And then what has never happened before today, the Broncos gave up 5 rushing touchdowns and 5 passing touchdowns. I mean, we're talking about history in like ways that you can't even wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
What's the worst?
I think it's all bad, but the silver lining is that the curse is over. That's the end of the curse. I think you had to go out and get whooped to end the curse, end the hoodoo voodoo that's been on the team for the last 7 years. I think we're done now. Like, that has to be it. It can't get any worse than that. Like, that was the end. Now we can move on and have better lives. But to me, I think anytime somebody puts 70 points up on you, like I said, I've never seen it. I've never been a part of it. Like, I can't even understand what's going through their minds right now. And just the tackling all around was atrocious. I mean,
oh God,
you got ran all over, you got thrown all over. Like, it literally felt like whatever they wanted to do to you, they could. The only thing that stopped them was the clock.
Yeah, and that's where, like, I don't even know what exactly went wrong with the defense because there's nothing to like base it off. Like yeah, they gave up a whole bunch of yards in the running game because they didn't get penetration. So there's like a start. There's no penetration from the defensive line. And then you have the linebackers who have to sit back a little bit because Tyreek Hill's just getting behind him all day. Like, how many times did they just go like 3 steps behind the linebackers, drop a ball in, and that's how that first quarter went. So, of course, they're not flying forward because how could you? You're just letting Tyreek Hill, so you drop back, but obviously they're not stopping Tyreek Hill. The corners didn't do anything. The tackling was bad. Like, I don't know what went right. Like it seems like usually there's like one thing where it's like at least there's that, but there's literally nothing from that defense.
No, there's nothing. In fact, at the very end of the game, which there's just so much bad to talk about, from players to coaching to everything around. Why the is Pat Surtain still in the game? But even Pat had an awful game.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the game, he gives up, a 70-yard, I don't know how long it was, a touchdown to Chosen Anderson. Chosen Anderson activated from the practice squad with their backup quarterback in the game. So, I mean, you can't even look to one player on defense.
I hate that play, though, because he had a pretty good game up until that point.
Yeah.
He was running all over the field, guarding Tyreek Hill. Yes, he gave up a little bit of catches, but he didn't even give up more than 50 yards before that. Like, he's not even playing. Like,
He shouldn't be playing either.
No, but
He
if you
should be
think
out.
that's a good representation of who Pat Surtain is as a corner, like, you're so misinformed, because at that point, my body's there, but my mind, my spirit is not in this game at all. Like, he shouldn't have been on the field.
No.
So I feel like the coaching then put him in a bad position to even be out there. Like, you should have been pulled him from this game.
Everyone should have been pulled. At a certain point, you have Mike McGlinchey out there going down. What if that was a serious? He got rolled up on.
Definitely.
Mike went back in the game, but roll up could be a season-ending injury for an offensive lineman. So I think that was just disastrous in every single way.
I don't mind not pulling players. Like, I get that there's the injury risk, there's all that. Like, what does it get you? But also, you gotta make them sit in it. Like, if you play that bad, you give up 70 points. Go back out there and keep playing. Like, offense, you're gonna score 20. You're gonna let this happen. Go out there and find something. I don't love the idea of just letting them have an out from that game. And
no, it's not out, because you got to live with this. You got to live with the aftermath of it. So it's never out. It's just a precautionary measure so that you don't have guys hurt, because you do have guys. You do need guys for the rest of the season. And some of these guys, it wasn't their fault. Like, necessarily, it wasn't Mike McGlinchey's fault that the team scored 13 points as the offense. Like, he should have been pulled. Pat Surtain wasn't responsible for 63 other points. Like, it wasn't his fault. He should have been pulled. Like,
and then how about this? If you pull your starters and they score 70 on you, you don't say this in public ever, but you're like, at least it was our backups giving up
Exactly.
20 points, or at least 7 points, so it wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
Now,
Does Sean want
now-
that though, or
but
does he
now-
want those guys miserable?
Well, it doesn't matter. Now you can't. This was embarrassing for everyone, including Sean Payton.
Yep.
Who,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is midway through the third quarter, he was looking at his worst loss ever
Yep.
as a head coach. His worst loss ever, from what I was able to find, was 32 points. They just lost by 50. They almost doubled that with Sean today. This is off to as bad of a start to the Sean Payton era more than anyone could have ever imagined. No one, as bad as anyone said this season was going to be, which no one said it was going to be that bad, because we saw awful we saw embarrassing last year.
I bet this was scoreagami.
Think about this. Absolutely. But
70-20
think about
probably
this.
never before.
How embarrassing was last year?
Absolutely
yeah, it was
embarrassing
bad.
all the way through.
This was worse.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
This
Oh, yeah.
was worse.
Yeah.
Of course.
It just hit me. Wow. It just hit me.
You
Just,
finally felt it.
I mean,
right
we've been
then?
talking about history and how
Yeah.
bad it is, but
Oh, yeah.
come on, nothing could be worse than Nathaniel Hackett ruining Russell Wilson, ruining this great defense that everyone said they had last year. And then this, 3 games in, Sean Payton and his staff and his coaches and George Payton allowed this to happen. And one guy's name that has not been mentioned yet, that everyone in the comments has said, is Vance Joseph. And
Yeah.
I don't even think we really needed to say it, because it's very clear. You talk about giving up 70 points. You talk about giving up 10 touchdowns. You talk about setting historic records in points, yards, ways they score touchdowns, ways they get yards. It is on the defensive coordinator. And I mean, but beyond just the defensive coordinator, but the worst day a defensive coordinator has probably ever had.
Since 1966. So in the modern era. But I mean, yeah, I think the worst thing I saw today was in the first quarter when the Broncos went to a 4-3 defense. Where
At
you
the start of the game.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
early on. This is when I start thinking, we were talking about it, me and Todd
Yeah.
downstairs. I mean, how do you do that? You are a 3-4 defense. You spent all offseason building a 3-4 defense, learning all the assignments, doing that sort of stuff. They get jumpy. They get trigger happy, say, we need to get Drew Sanders in there, but we can't take Josie or Alex off the field. First of all, you did not need to get Drew Sanders in there. I think that's pretty clear now, and I think that that's something we probably should have known before this game.
Are you clear with that?
But
That Drew Sanders didn't need to be in there?
You do not need Drew Sanders. That's your guy.
You were bounding the table for him.
yeah, I did want more Drew Sanders. Wanted more Marvin Mims too.
There you
Actually
go.
got a little
There you
bit
go.
of that.
Deflect. It's a good one. But yeah, I mean, like, what are you doing? Because everything changes, and I
Yeah.
can't speak to that. Todd, how does everything change when you just say, actually, half our defense is just a 4-3 this week?
It's very different as far as where everybody fits, as far as where the D linemen and the linebackers, how they fit up gaps, how you fit up different run schemes. The thing about training camp is it allows you to run so many different type of plays and learn how to block them up against your specific defense. Now, when you go and change the very core of that defense from a 3-4 to a 4-3, everything is different. And you have to spend time on those keys and understand how to block up different runs. And what it looked like was guys did not know how to match up against different run schemes.
Yep.
And you saw many plays where they were untouched to the second level. And that's simply because guys didn't know their responsibility. They didn't know how to scheme against the exact plays they were running. It looked like they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
because they didn't, and they honestly kind of shouldn't.
But
Yeah.
how does this happen? Like, how does a defensive coordinator make this decision to do this? And Henry, you laid out perfectly right. I mean, like, you've been practicing one thing for 9 months,
Yeah.
whether it's on the field, off the field.
I mean, in some ways, for a decade
but then
or more, since Von Miller's second year in the NFL, they've been
yeah,
3-4.
absolutely. But then how does this get also passed by Sean Payton?
Oh, absolutely.
Vance Joseph doesn't just do this and not tell Sean Payton.
Oh, of course.
How does this happen just all the way around?
Well,
It's pressing. Everybody is pressing and trying to find a way to make this team better and find a way to help this team win. And you see it hurting the team in Russell Wilson fumbles and Cortland Sutton fumbles, in strange new defenses that we've never run against the best offense in the NFL. Like, all these things are coming up now because they're trying to find a way to win. But when you press that hard without real answers, you get scenarios like this.
And how you say, yes, this is a good plan, is you say, we need to do exactly what the Patriots did last week. The Patriots run that multiple defense, the 3-4, 4-3, they switch back and forth, and there's a difference between a team that runs multiple defenses and practices that throughout the year and a team that's run a 3-4 defense for more than a decade and says, you know what, let's throw a 4-3 package in. And again, it's not like they're running 4-3 all game. They got away from it. They really got away from it when Josie Jewell left the game, but they didn't run. It's not like every down they're in a 4-3, but they did get gashed a few times when they're running that defense. And again, just baffling. And it's not all Vance's fault. It's not all Vance's fault. Like, as Sean Payton would say, there are no clean hands. Everybody has dirt on their hands from this game, and Sean Payton's a part of that. Everybody is, but, well, except for Marvin Mims.
So is this rock bottom? Where do the Broncos go from here? Does Vance Joseph need to be fired today, tomorrow? I mean, where do they go from here? Sean Payton is talking to the media right now as we speak, and he's got a couple of words for the team after the game, and let's get to those after I tell you about our friends over at Breckenridge Distillery. You need a drink. Everyone does.
Drink.
Everyone, you need the bottle, Todd. Reach for the bottle. And if you're reaching for the Breckenridge whiskey, are you reaching for Ed McCaffrey's blend, or are you reaching for Alfred Williams' blend?
We need defense. All Alfred Williams. All Alfred Williams need defense.
Tonight,
Double
There's
company.
the real
Yes,
answer.
yeah. You maybe make your own blend. Mix the two together.
Exactly.
Maybe I mean, if you want any orange and blue good feelings today, you're going to have to go to Breckenridge Distillery because you're not getting it from the Broncos game. And if you want to be part of the battle of the bourbon blend that they've got going on, go to BreckenridgeDistillery.com. Look for their bourbon of Denver Broncos competition. Vote on which one you like the most. And if you want to go to the Broncos-Chargers game on New Year's Eve, no better way to kick off your New Year's Eve than watching the Broncos, but they have given you free seats away, which is sweet. Post a picture to Instagram or Facebook and use the hashtag Broncos Bourbon. So check out BreckenridgeDistillery.com.
Oh, and also go get yourself a hoagie, because this is a day where you could just sit down, have a nice hoagie. My thing is, whenever I eat something like that, I usually need a nap after, like a hoagie or even like a big sandwich or something like that. So yeah, might be a good day just to go get yourself. I wish you had James on. James knows like all the different best hoagies from Primo Hoagies. But they're like a legit chain. I think they started in Pennsylvania, which is where like the hoagie was born. They've expanded out here to Colorado. They've got all sorts of awesome stuff. Yeah, go check them out. Locations in Denver and Centennial. You can order party trays in advance, which is an awesome move. And you can also go to primohoagies.com. It's not just a hoagie, it's a primo.
Unlike us, Sean Payton is at a loss of words after that game, and I don't blame him. I mean, he doesn't have a dictionary in front of him just to read off all the bad words that are in there. So that's one of the things he said. He's at a loss for words. He said it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Henry, you said that the Broncos needed to sit through that and play through it and sit in their shit, essentially, that they put out there. That's what Sean Payton's going to make him do tomorrow. He said it's going to be tough watching the film tomorrow.
Yep.
I actually wouldn't have been surprised if this is one of those games where the coaching staff just said, there's nothing to take from this. We're just moving on. Sean said tomorrow's going to be a very tough day for everyone going through that tape.
Dang, that's the worst. A bad game, and you just got to sit there and watch it. And that would probably be one of the times where the whole team is in one room. Normally you split up offense and defense, or even go to your own position rooms. Like, no, we're going to sit here as a team, and everybody's going to watch everybody get rolled up, ran over, torched. And we're all going to have to sit through this and watch it. We got to go back to that extra day in Miami. I don't know if guys were out. I don't know if they were clubbing.
It certainly looked like it.
It looked like some people were still hungover from 2 nights ago. We told you, don't take the extra day in Miami, and they took it anyway, and guys looked lethargic. I don't know. This wasn't who we are as a team, or could be, or who we talked about or thought we were at the beginning of the year. This is bad.
So, Todd, I think it's a great point you brought up. It's not the team that anyone talked about, thought about internally, externally. Again, we're coming off what a lot of people thought was maybe the most embarrassing season in franchise history last year. And then this happens? You just said, though, is that this isn't who we are. I know it's not who we thought they were.
Maybe this is who they are.
Is this who they are?
Ooh, I don't... It seems like as a defense, we are closer to this than what we want to believe. I mean, we gave up 35 points to a Washington Commanders team who went out and almost put up no points.
How many points did they score today?
0.
0.
Yeah. So that's concerning. And then we give up 70 this week. We were like worse in the points per drive the first week. I don't want to say this is who we are, but I mean, if the shoe fits, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, hopefully it's not a duck.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not be this. You just did it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just right there. Like, this is who you are. And you got a chance to change it next week. And I don't think any of us are all that hopeful. It'd be tough to be in that locker room and say, like, oh, yeah, Bears, easy win. Like, we got this. Like, this is.
But this is the one time you feel like they're not going to put up 70 on us.
I know,
That's
right?
for sure. Like,
they're not. It can't be 70, right? Like, God. Yeah.
And I think you guys nailed it right on the head. They were, with advanced stats, the worst defense in the NFL week 1. They gave up 35 points to Sam Howell in week 2, making his first road start. The week before, what did Sam Howell do? He put up 20 points against an 0-3 Cardinals team. Then at home, what did he do today? He put up 0 points at home against the Buffalo Bills defense. So that's the anomaly there. Because he played the Denver Broncos, he was able to have so much success. And by the way, that happened when Justin Simmons was on the field. So this wasn't, Justin Simmons isn't worth 70 points here or anything like that. This is
he's pretty good.
Much deeper. In the past 2 games, the Broncos are giving up 52.5 points. Excuse me?
Yeah.
In 2 games, the Broncos are averaging giving up 52.5 points?
I mean, they averaged 70 this week. That's even more egregious.
Holy cow. So the question is, and I think it has to be asked, do the Broncos have to make a change just 3 weeks into the season?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what firing someone right now would do. I don't see the benefit in it. Yeah, things are terrible, absolutely horrible, but I don't see a benefit. Besides firing a coach, you get that one boost that very next game, but then after that, it just kind of continues to be bad. So I don't think anything would be more positive if we fired any of our coaching staff or coordinators. It just wouldn't make it better.
So let's see. This is 63 minutes ago. I tweeted that there's like a small chance that that Sean considers firing Vance Joseph, and there's a very small chance he actually does it, which is crazy because that was 63 minutes ago. Now I'm at the point where it's like I'd be surprised if they don't fire him. Like, this is one of the worst performances ever, and I get that it's not all on him. It can't be all on anybody, but you got to change something. And through 3 weeks, this defense hasn't been good enough, and I think that I've been disappointed in how Vance has called things. I think that the first couple weeks, the coverage is too soft. You're giving up too much underneath. The run fits. Things are not clicking in there. Obviously, this week, there's where do you even start with the mistakes that Vance has made? So I do think that you need to make a change. I think you've got Christian Parker right there who can maybe bring you back to what you were doing more last year. And I think that that's nice.
We always think that the guy that's not on the field or not calling is better than who's calling.
But could it be
Sanders
worse?
Was the answer that we were missing on defense? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
think there's one thing that the Broncos can change, and that's bringing Todd Davis on to be the play caller. As the commentators Colin.
Start him. Player coach. DC and inside linebacker. Yeah.
They need that. And
going 4-3.
What firing Vance?
Need another.
What firing Vance would do is it would do 2 things. It would let everyone in the organization know what happened today is unacceptable. I think
they should know that.
I think everyone knows in the building that what happened today is unacceptable without Sean saying anything. And I have to imagine Sean is going to say something today, tomorrow, the rest of the week. So it would be accountability, I guess. And then it might give a boost to your defense for 1 week, because you're right. You see that happen all the time. Whether it's an interim offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, interim head coach, you typically do get that boost the next week. And then it either goes back to where it was or it gets worse after that, because there's a reason that guy wasn't in that DC position to start with. Now, obviously, if this goes a couple of more weeks, I mean, if you're at the bye and it's this bad, Vance will be gone. They will promote Christian Parker to give him half a year to see if he can be the defensive coordinator, see if he can make this team better. That isn't to save the season. That is to say, Christian, can you be our defensive coordinator moving forward? the season's over. This 0-3.
Yeah.
You disagree with?
I
the
mean,
season being over?
I don't know that a season can ever be over in September. If it could be, then this is the one. But I'm not sure.
Can you pull up the season that the team that Washington beat 72-40? Can we see what their season looked like?
Yes.
But yeah, you're obviously not sitting here saying like we got to find a way to get to the playoffs. Like what you're saying is we got to find we need to go out on a football field for 14 more games, and Jesus, like please not this again. Like please not this again. Like you got to find some way to at least like survive 14 more games. Like you're not looking at how do we find a way to get a winning record? But I mean you're not technically dead.
How do we win?
You know you're dead. You're dead. You just have to show up for 14 more games.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is so I do think the season's over. And honestly, I think if Sean fires Vance in the next 24 hours, that is his 0.01% chance to say this thing's not over. I think if he rolls with Vance, he's saying let's just try to turn things around a little bit, but like no. Okay, you have the answer.
So that year, the 1966 Giants tied their first game, so they were 0-0-1.
Yep.
First tied. And then when they faced the Giants, they were... Where are the New York Giants at? Either way, all I know is that they went 1-12-1.
There you go.
12-1.
Yep.
Not a good sign for the Broncos moving forward.
They were 1-1, and they were 1-10-1 by the time they faced the Giants.
1-10-1 by the time they faced the Giants. Broncos 0-2 coming into this game. Broncos 0-3 now. Broncos are the only team in the AFC West now to not have a win, so the Broncos are officially at the bottom of the AFC West. There was a little bit of hope the first 2 weeks, I think from all of us, and I mean definitely myself, that okay, maybe the Broncos can turn this thing around, need a big win in Miami, and the hope was the Broncos had a -3 differential in their first 2 losses, so they were keeping it really close. See ya, that's gone. Broncos now have a -53 point differential in their first 3 losses. Broncos averaging, I mean, talk about averages, this game's gonna absolutely kill it. Broncos now averaging, what is that, like 17 points per loss, just under 17 points per loss in these games so far. It is as bad as it can be, but is it? Is this rock bottom, guys? We're just...
Oh, yeah.
It is? It is? Well,
I mean, yeah.
I want to get your full explanation after I tell you about our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery. Boy, I mean, this is a day where you need the whiskey in one hand, you need the beer
and
the other hand, and maybe a hoagie just in your mouth. Just stuffed in your mouth.
Yeah.
You're just kind of funneling some beer.
Best place for a hoagie.
And
listen, guys.
it is the best. Oh, what did I say? Oh my gosh, you again. If
The
you guys,
pregame, the postgame.
yeah. 7 inches, Henry.
We're not doing this again. that was not no.
All right. We're getting the flag thrown on. So that means you got to reach for the Broncos country ale today.
Yeah.
So you're probably reaching for that pregame. Now you're probably just going for like the vanilla porter, because that's the vanilla porter junior for the Denver Nuggets, the champions. You're reaching for that. That's a little stronger too. The sun's about to go down, so you might want that. But regardless of whatever beer you're going for, you want Breckenridge Brewery. Come get it down at the DNVR bar. If you can't make it here, go to breckbrew.com. There's a beer locator there where you can find not just any Breckenridge brew, the specific Breckenridge brew you're looking for over at breckbrew.com, the official beer of DNVR.
And the Broncos lost 70-20. That is as big of a butt whooping, as big of a hurt as you can have. And if the game was in Denver, Colorado, I would tell them to call Backus and Shanker. Smash the 222-222. When you get hurt, Backus and Shanker is here to help. Backus and Shanker wins for Colorado families, helping those who are seriously injured in Colorado for over 25 years. They're free until we win money for your case. There's no upfront fee to speak with them about your case. There's no fee while they work on your case. No fee unless they win your case. And they have won over $1 billion for clients in Colorado. So if you've been hurt or seriously injured, call 222-2222 to set up a consultation.
So I have some bad news. Justin Fields, the Broncos' next opponent, is looking kind of good right now. He's running on the Chiefs' defense, which was one of the best defenses entering this week. I don't think this is rock bottom. You just lost by 50 points.
Yeah.
And you can hit rock bottom next week. And I don't know if there could be a worse rock bottom. As Ryan said before we started the show to us, he said, you're having the annual rock bottom discussion. I don't know how a loss next week could be any worse.
Exactly.
Like ever.
Exactly.
Ever, how it could be any
because
worse.
if this happens again, it won't feel this bad. Like if you lose 70-20 again next week, it's like, oh, this again. Today you're like, like they win this game, they find a couple more, all of a sudden like there's a path to like 3-2 going into a tough stretch. There was at least like some hope. Hope is dead. Hope is absolutely dead. And so like you could lose 100-0 and it's like,
I thought you said the season
hope is
wasn't
already
over.
dead. I mean, it's not technically over. Like, I don't think a season can be over in September.
It's
Hope
not
is
dead.
dead.
It's
Hope
in a
is
coma
dead.
on life support.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And
not
our
awake.
and the families are coming in to say their last goodbye.
Blood everywhere. Blood everywhere.
Oh,
quick.
man.
The Broncos are on offense are averaging 23 points on offense. On defense, after today, they're averaging 40 points allowed.
Yeah, losing 17 points. Brutal. But you could take it one step further. You could say, no, Zach, next week wouldn't be rock bottom. The following week against the Jets at home would be rock bottom. Zach Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, Michael Carter, they were all screaming at each other. They were all screaming at Nathaniel Hackett on the sidelines today. They almost won their game. They lost by 5 points to the Patriots, and they were losing it. What's going to happen if the Broncos are losing to the winless Bears next week? The Bears that their defensive coordinator just resigned. Justin Fields last week came out and blamed the offense, blamed the coaching staff for everything that's going on. Their team is imploding. They're going to be winless when they play the Broncos. That would be rock bottom. And then maybe the Jets are a one-win team when they beat the Broncos. So as bad as today was, I still don't think it's rock bottom potentially.
How?
Dang,
It's
that
got to
would suck.
be. Because again, like this could happen over and over and over. You could lose 100, like I said, 100-0 every week the rest of the season.
No,
The
there's
first
no
one's always
way-
the worst.
crazy.
There's no way they lose like this again. Like, this is rock bottom. I
No.
say
That's also true.
This is rock bottom unless it happens again. Then it's absolutely the rock. Because the next two times, even if you lose again, even if it's to the Chiefs, or we're able to beat or we even lose to the Bears, we're not losing by 50 points.
Of course not.
So a loss, just a plain loss, a normal loss, a 3-point loss, 7-point loss, isn't rock bottom, even if it's against a winless team. Potentially setting the NFL record for worst loss ever.
Yeah.
And only not getting that because Mike McDaniel chose to take it easy on you and
Yeah.
not kick the field goal.
'Cause he was a nice
this
guy.
Is it. This is the bottom. We're at the bottom.
So it's
I think-
only going up from here,
It only
baby.
goes up. It
Let's
only goes
go.
up.
I think the best question is like, what is this rock bottom compared to? Like, how far can you go back and this is still the low point?
I know
'Cause, like,
exactly
it's,
when.
It's worse than the Rams. It's worse than, like, I think you go all the way back. It's pre-Super Bowl. It's pre-Peyton. Like, I think you get back to, like, the Josh McDaniels time, and that's where there's at least a conversation.
It's 2010 when the Raiders dropped what then was a franchise high in points given up by the
Yeah.
Broncos. 56 points to the Raiders with Jamarcus
True.
Russell at quarterback.
Yeah.
So the Raiders were awful. It was the Raiders. It was at home, and you gave up 56 points for
Yeah.
them. Think about that. The Broncos entering today, worst game in terms of defensive points given up, 56. Today, or maybe it was 59, 56. Doesn't matter. Today they give up 70. They blow that record out of the water.
They made Tua look like Jamarcus Russell. Yeah. But that probably was worse. That probably was. I think this has a case just because, like, 70. But that probably was. This is the low point back to then. That was lower.
At least this was a good team.
Exactly. At least you have that part.
I guess.
And, like,
I
Justin
guess.
Simmons is hurt.
This is lower for me.
This is lower than that?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
that's
the
fair.
Raiders,
Because
even your hate
even
for the
the-
Raiders.
I can't blame you.
Yeah, because with that I wasn't a Broncos fan, I guess, at that
Yeah.
time. And I didn't know half the team. Like, I know half these guys.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Like,
that's fair.
this makes this hurt so much worse because I
Yeah.
know all those guys go out there and put their body on the line and work hard for it. Like, I know the locker room is just dead silent right now. It's bad. It's
I
a
know.
bad place to be right now.
So
Well,
Todd
usually
Davis-
it's so fun. Like, again, you have a different relationship, but, like, even just going in there, it's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, going to the locker room. Like Wednesday's recently a little bit tough, but things pick up. Like chat about things, talk about college. Like now it's like it's just gonna be pain. It's gonna be dark. Like everybody's gonna be miserable for another 3-4 months.
Yeah, and this is just like that. If I talk about the locker room, this is just like that quiet, eerie silence. Like some games are like everybody's mad,
Somebody
and
wants
then
to
you
fight.
lose like by 15, 20 points. Now we're fighting. Now
Yeah.
guys in the locker room pushing and shoving. Losing by 15 points, like nobody's saying a word. It's the most silent spot you could be in America right now. Like the guys are just very unhappy. Yeah, they're pissed. They're pissed off.
So Todd, we had Pat Surtain on our show after the Week 1 loss, and he said, fans need to calm down. It's just one game. We all agreed with that. That I still think that's very true. Then after last week's loss, I asked you, like, at 0-2, is the locker room believing that the season's over? And you said no. You said no. Do you want to tell me what you said after that?
I think I said, but if it's 0-3,
Yep.
then it's looking like,
Yep.
and you lost by 50.
Throw that in.
Guys are
kinda the
looking
kicker.
at vacations and where to go in the offseason. Like I think that the hope in the locker room is gone. Like you just feel like at some point we'll find it, we'll get it together, we'll click. We talked about in the first 2 games how they were like very close in so many different areas about like finding it out or hitting that switch to be a really good team. This is as far away from that as you can be. I think at this point now, guys are probably pretty discouraged in the locker room.
I just realized I have to do game grades this week.
Fun.
I'm tempted to just say like, no, just everybody gets an F. Let's
Marvin
just move on.
Mims, A, baby.
A for Marvin, B for Russ. Everybody else gets Fs. Like to
Oh
me,
my gosh.
it's just that just clicked. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Wake up, rewatch. No promises on game grades this week.
There we go. Todd, take us into what a plane ride home is like, because you mentioned the locker room.
Oh, it's a
But now the Broncos have to get on a plane
4 hours.
over 4 hours to come back here. What's that like? Not just being 0-3, but a loss like this when kind of reality sets in and coupled with just humiliation.
Yeah, I think in the plane right now, you're probably seeing guys kind of like find their own space. Like normally the plane ride is somewhere where we like all watch film and then you taking your iPad around to different guys like, hey, do you see this? We almost had this right here. If you just come and, and hit him at this angle, I'll be right there the next game. Like all that's done. Like we're not talking to anybody. We're not having any cookies. Like they're not even serving them anymore. Like you guys are getting salads and
cookies?
Definitely no
like,
cookies today.
No.
Oh, what are you
this is
eating
bad.
then?
Huh?
Like, what is it? Like the McRib? Just a whole bunch of McRibs or something everybody has to eat? Or like,
Yeah, it's bad. Like normally they have really good food for you, but I think a
Exactly.
loss like this, they shouldn't even have food on the plane.
It's like
Everybody
egg
should
salad
just go
sandwiches.
home,
Or everybody just stays
like
hungry.
Beet
Yeah.
sandwiches or something like that.
What
It's
was-
gonna be quiet for a
What
long
was the
time.
worst plane ride that you had?
Oh dang! You know what's funny? As a retired player, you try to like leave all that out of your mind.
Yeah.
So I can't even think. I know for sure we had a few of them, but a specific one right now, I can't think of one.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, that's just brutal. I know, like, in high school, there's, like, rules. Like, our high school football team, not that I was on it, they had a rule, like, if you lose, there's no talking on the way home. And it's not, like, a hard rule, I'm sure, in the NFL. It's more of, like, obviously, if anybody hears you laughing, you're just going to get your ass kicked. But, like, that would not be a good time. Luckily, we get to just laugh about it.
Yeah. So something else that just sucks with this is just realizing, comparing last year to this year and being like, shit, this isn't any better than last year. In fact, is it worse than last year? And then just going back to what was supposed to be better. And really, the offense is better through 3 games than it was last year. Russell Wilson is better, certainly, without a doubt, than he was last year. But and those are huge things. I'm not trying to discredit that, but those kind of fall on deaf ears when you're 0-3.
Nobody cares
But
right now.
Penalties were supposed to be a lot better, right? That's what Sean said, right? He told us this team was awful last year. That's not going to happen under me. Penalties weren't numbers-wise as bad this week. 7 penalties, 14 points though. Now Broncos are still losing, with those 14 points, but you literally wiped 2 touchdowns off the board by penalties there. Penalties give up a first down to the Dolphins. So just undisciplined play happening. And there's just other things that we were just told were going to be different with coaching with Sean Payton, and they're just not. And that's when it's like, damn, this sucks.
And that's where I see like the offensive improvement. To me, like, you can see that it's Sean Payton. Like, that part is Sean Payton because it's the bones that's better. Like, they're finding like consistent gains, like they're finding open receivers, but then you have things like penalties taking away touchdowns. I mean, you can get to like coaching, you gotta have discipline, whatever, but like the bones of the offense, it's working. It's finding you those touchdowns in the first place. People are making mistakes. You know, you're finding Cortland Sutton for good gains. He's just fumbling the football twice, you know, and that's, brutal. Again, like you can turn it around to like discipline, like old school, like you got to grind in these guys, no mistakes. But it really is players making mistakes on top of an offense that is putting them in good positions.
But Henry, Sean Payton told us this offseason penalties were going to get better because of coaching.
Yeah.
So he said penalties are because of coaching. So you're trying to take it and put it on players. No, that's on coaching. But he told us it was on coaching.
My point is, like, the offense is better, and the way that it's better is just that the bones of the offense are better. Like, the reason you found this extra, whatever it is at this point, like 4 or 5 points a game, is because you found a way to like build a functional offense, but you're still just making all these mistakes. That means it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I understand good bones. I do.
Yeah, you got good bones.
But
How
I
many
don't know,
bones
good
have you
bones are
broken?
enough.
Good
Yeah.
These 2 damn toes.
And the thing about me, the difference between last year and this year is that last year, even though it was really bad, it still only felt like it was like we were like one coach or 2 or 3 players away from still being like legitimately good and having a good season. This feels like we're more than 2 or 3 pieces away from like putting together a good team that can go out there and even compete in the AFC West. Like, it seems like we're further away from it this year.
And Todd, I think that might be my biggest takeaway from the defensive side specifically. You can fire Vance, and there's no argument to defend Vance right now. Like, we've gone over the numbers. It's as bad as it can be. You can fire him, and no one would say anything about it. But that's not fixing your issues on defense. You have Justin Simmons, you have Pat Surtain, and then is everything else, have we and everyone in Denver overrated everything else on defense? Maybe you can go through a few players and say, no, that guy's actually as good as we thought. Maybe the inside backers. How was the pass rush today?
And it wasn't even there.
I didn't even think the Broncos were allowed to have a pass rush with how they were. Zach Allen, the interior defensive line, showed up for 1 play. That was a nice turnover on downs, which then the offense decided to go 7 yards back and punt when they were started off in field goal range. So I think the Broncos have 2 really good players on defense, and one of them, I think, the closer we get to the trade deadline, is going to be involved in trade talks with Justin Simmons, and that's a conversation that we'll certainly get into maybe this week with where it sits right now. But people are already calling for the Broncos to blow everything up, trade everything, and to me, that was kind of the biggest realization today and over the past 3 weeks, but really today was like, they're not one defensive coordinator away from competing for in a game, let alone the AFC West, let alone the playoffs or anything bigger than that. And that's what sucks, Todd. And that's where the hope really kind of gets pulled away is, damn, it's not just a quarterback because they got that with Russ. It's not just a coach because they got that with Sean. Yeah.
And at this point of the season, or at this point of losing by 50 points, this is kind of where like you'll see guys with injuries make sure that they're 100%. Like, if I'm Justin Simmons, I'm not coming back next week. I may not come back the week after that. Like, I'm going to make sure I'm 100% healthy. I'm not putting my body on the line to go out there and lose anyway. And if you hear the trade talks, you hear the trade rumors. If I'm up for trades, I'm going to be out there as little as possible trying to conserve my body. So I think more and more as the season goes on, you're going to see more guys take business decisions on protecting themselves instead of like guys really being out there, put their body on the line, or like, you know, guys like back in the day, we're about to go to the Super Bowl cutting off fingers. Like, you do that for like really, really good teams and really, really good moments. Like, I'm not putting my body on the line to go out and have this happen to me.
Yeah, and we're in week 3.
Yeah.
Imagine if this continues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a tough spot to be in. Like, So typically I'm against like the whole rebuild thing, like tearing things down and trying to build it back up, just because that has, as far as I know, never worked before. Like right now you've got like Jacksonville has Trevor Lawrence, and like maybe they take the steps, but nobody's ever like torn down, restarted totally fresh, as far as I know, and it just like worked out for them. And on top of that, like I still think the biggest problem with this team is just a lack of really good players, like all-pro type players. I think that if you add on like a George Kittle or something like that significantly changes things. Just right now you're short on those. So the idea that you're getting rid of a Justin Simmons makes me think like, okay, congrats, you found like a second-round pick. Now you found a solid starter and you save some money, but really you just want the opportunity to spend money on good players. Like that's what this team is desperate for. But you lose by 50 points, you're 0-3. Maybe your only option is to say, you know what, this is like a 4-win team, and the only way to get better from there is to do things drastically. So I don't have strong feelings about whether you're trading guys away or rebuilding, but I will by tomorrow probably. It's just so fresh. I don't even know what you do from here.
Well, I think Kareem Jackson in the locker room right now just said what needed to be said, and kind of told us exactly where the Broncos are, and it's refreshing, I think. But first, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's tuning in with us right now. This is miserable. We could have never imagined the Broncos being 0-3, getting outscored by 53 points in the first 3 games of the season. But we have so many people rolling with us right now.
We have
just
1,700 people.
Exactly, yeah. We got tons of people watching and rolling with us right now. And this is why we do it, to be here with you. We're here for the good, but typically it's only the bad. But we're here with you guys, and we just wanted to say thank you. Hit us with a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. Helps us out a ton. And I also got to say thank you to our friends over at Bet365. If you would have bet the over in today's game, you would have been rolling in money with in the
90.
first half.
Oh.
In the first half?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, I think it hit in the first half. You'd have been
35,
cashing
yeah.
out those bets. You'd have been thanking the Dolphins when they scored 49 points because they covered the over on their own. If you would have bet on the Dolphins to score 70 points, I mean, you wouldn't be working tomorrow.
Yeah, if you would bet on there to be 90 points in the game,
50 points.
Take the Dolphins minus 49.5. Oof, a lot of money there.
Man, that would have been something else. And you can get all of these lines over at Bet365, where they say never ordinary. That's what today's game was. Literally not ordinary in any way. A game that we have not seen in decades. In fact, I mean, my parents were barely alive the last time a team scored more points than was scored on the Broncos today. And if you want to bet with free money, use the code DNVR365, where they're going to give you $365 in bonus bets when you place a $1 bet. That's $365 of bonus bets over at Bet365 by placing a $1 bet. You must be 21 and older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
My girlfriend just texted me the Vikings stink. It's like, oh, do the Vikings stink? That must be hard. But
well, they just lost to the Chargers, so that means they really stink.
Trash.
Trash.
And this is a day where I really wish I had my Shady Rays, so didn't have to watch that game.
Hide the
could have
tears.
my eyes protected and hide my tears, for sure. You can take on sun with gear that's built to last. Our friends over at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather or cold weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. And the great thing about Shady Rays, if you lose them or break them, even on the same day you buy them, they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase them. You can use code DNVR for 50% off 2 or more polarized shades. Go check out our friends over at Shady Rays. They're definitely the best sunglasses in town.
So one thing that I'm just sick and tired of with covering the Broncos team since 2016 is just year after year hearing we're one piece away, kind of like the quarterback, the coach. No, we still have a good defense, and some of the times that's true. Like the Broncos defense was really good in 2016, really good in 2017, really good in 2018. It sucks now. It does. You can't look at what happened this year and say it's good, but you know where you have to hear that? It has to start inside that locker room in order for it to mean anything. Vance this past week came out and said he still believes the Broncos can be a good defense. But today, Kareem Jackson, this is coming from Chris Thomason in the locker room. Kareem said it was embarrassing, but I think more importantly, he said, defensively, we're a bad unit, and I'm part of that. If this team's going to turn around or, like, get any better, they have to realize just how bad it is.
I'm sure,
I think that's what a 50-point loss does. But last week, we heard players come out after they gave up 35 to Sam Howell, which just looks even worse now after what Sam Howell wasn't able to do today, and say the Broncos are still an elite defense. They can still be an elite defense.
Yeah, I
no,
thought so.
that needs to go away. And so I'm happy that with the veteran leader on that unit right now, especially when Justin Simmons is sidelined, that this talk is finally starting. It's about time, and I like that ownership from Kareem.
Yeah, he's keeping it 100. Like, he has to be honest about it. If you keep sweeping it under the rug, it never gets better. It only stays dirty. So I think they have to be honest.
Imagine though if they weren't like imagine say Nick Bonito just like walks in the locker room after the game, like smile on his face, like, oh, good game, right, guys?
But Henry,
everybody's
they
like,
said
wait,
that.
no.
Henry, they said that last week. They
lost by 2.
This defense, they gave up 35. I'm talking
But,
about the
I mean,
defense
it's a
specifically. The
2-point
defense was
game.
asked about it, and the defense said, "Yeah, we're still a good group. We just need to correct a few things."
And I think
they're
they were
far
right.
from that. No, they.
I thought they were. Well,
then you were wrong, Henry. I'm
I
sorry,
know
but
I
you
was
were
wrong. Yeah,
Okay, well, then
I
that's
think
what I'm
everybody
saying.
was wrong. They
it's
gave
a
up
good
70 points.
realization to finally have.
Yeah.
And so maybe this ass whooping, as people in the comment section are saying, was
Or-
needed, or as Todd said, that spanking, bending him over and spanking
Or
him.
we sucked, as Alex Singleton said.
Yeah, and that's good. So I think it's good to hear these truths.
Yeah.
Because, Todd, I don't know if any defense you were ever on truly needed to come out and say these things, because you guys had bad games against the Eagles where you were notably you were notably injured and not playing in that game, where you gave up over 50 points. You can have a bad game and still be a good team. Maybe you can't give up 50 points and be an elite team, but you can still be a good defense. The first 3 weeks have shown us that they're not good at all. So I'm happy that they're taking the first step, which is admitting it, right?
Yeah, I wish we would have had some of this honesty from some of the offenses I played with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely wish we would have heard that, so they could have been a little better. But honesty is always key, man. I mean, like we talked about, they're not gonna get any better trying to act like they are still good or still able to defend anyone. Like, it's bad, man. They're at the bottom of the league right now, where they rightfully are, and they have to figure out how to get better from here. But they have to understand their place in order to do that.
Yeah. Also, just real quick, with Vance, I wanted to bring this up earlier, but Christian Parker might turn that job down. Like, I think that's the piece that you're forgetting, is that, or not you, but like people are forgetting, is that who did he turn it down last year? The interim job. Ejiro did. That's of course. Yeah.
I don't want that on my
Yeah,
resume.
exactly. Ejiro's like, I'm not taking over the head
Give me
coach
that.
job for this. And if you're Christian Parker, that's something that you would have to consider is like, what is this going to look like for me? Like, obviously you turn this defense around. Like, if you keep teams to 21 points a game over the rest of the season, you might be getting like a head coach job next year. But that'll be interesting. That plays into it, though.
Yeah.
You have Minuski, who you'd think would take it.
Yeah.
And he's experienced. He's had some good defenses.
It's a really good point, Henry, and that's something that Christian would have to consider. Do I want this mess on my hands when I'm trying to be a defensive coordinator for another team next year?
Yeah.
So as Todd Davis in the comment section saying, "Good call, 51."
I don't know who that is, but I love you.
that wasn't you.
I love you.
Yeah, I haven't seen Todd touch his phone in a minute, so I'm not quite sure. But you guys heard me. I said I love you. We love you. Thank you so much for rolling with us. Let's talk to you guys.
Yeah, I'm
right
excited for
now.
the super chats. These are going to be great.
Man, it's going to be wild.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
smokes.
We're gonna have to play
25. Let's
through it. Let's
jump
do
into
it.
them. Zachary Gardner says, only positive about this game is that we have our first round pick. Vance Joseph needs to go. Yes, thank goodness the Broncos did not trade that.
Also, Marvin Mims.
Also, Marvin Mims.
Kick
yes.
return touchdown. Those don't even exist anymore. That kick return touchdown's extinct. Like, there'll be 2-3 a year, and Marvin Mims just had one.
And he had a nice 30-yard reception.
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
Marvin
did.
Mims is a player. That's for real now.
Marvin Mims is your number one receiver. He's your best.
I don't know if I could go that far.
He's your best offensive threat.
It's just tough when Court fumbles.
He fumbles twice.
Yeah.
That can't be your number one receiver.
That's not normally him.
I know
like-
exactly.
It's not, but twice in a
fluky.
game?
It's fluky.
Yeah. I don't know. That's tough.
exactly.
It's
Like, I
not
don't know what.
normally
Yeah.
him. It's not. So I think everything is just bad. Like, everything is as bad as
That's
it can
true.
get right
That's
now.
true.
So everybody's like under that umbrella of just, I don't know, bad energy. Yeah.
Except Marvin.
The losing ways. Marvin hasn't been here long enough for that to seep in.
Oh boy.
Next one from NIHILSH.
No, just say it.
Yeah. I'm completely out on Sean Payton. Yes, this team lacks talent, but Sean Payton has built a horrible staff around him, misses obvious challenges, makes questionable calls both offensively and in-game management. And I mean, today he was not the biggest issue, but why didn't he throw the challenge flag on that Cortland Sutton catch? I understand it's the first drive of the game, but you pick up something there. The Broncos are still going to get their ass kicked in this game with how it unfolded. But
with how it unfolded.
Yes.
But the thing, I mean, it's a different game.
Throw the challenge flag.
Exactly. That's the biggest mistake he's made.
All season?
Oh, yeah.
I totally disagree with that.
Really? Okay.
But I think there's been many. I've been very hard on Sean the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'll just let those conversations speak for itself. But yeah, I've been very disappointed in Sean the first 3 weeks too.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why he came out of, retirement from the studio is because how much control he had coming to the Broncos. I mean, he put together his staff. He was able to choose who he wanted. He went out and got players that he played with previously to make up the roster. So I'm not saying it's all his fault, but I think he does deserve a little bit of onus for these kinds of losses.
Yeah. I mean, to me, like, you've seen the bump on offense. Like, it's kind of exactly what we expected, where it's like, oh, Sean Payton, he'll give you another 3 points a game. That's basically what we've gotten. But meanwhile, there's all these other flaws and so many, like, 70 points, obviously, that falls on the head coach's plate, too. So I don't think anybody's sitting here saying, like, Sean Payton exceeding my expectations.
Yeah, and I mean, he does deserve the credit for the bump in offense, but he's not your offensive coordinator. He's your head coach, so he does get that bump, but then he hired Vance. He is in charge of everything, and what have we talked about? The more that he's here, the more power he's going to get. Awful day, 3 weeks, month for George Payton as well. He's going to be canned after the season. That just means Sean Payton's going to get more power. At least that's what we think and thought. Maybe that'll change. I'm not sure. Dan Peters chimes in and says, what can we realistically do to save this season? I really don't think Vance will get fired now. What can this team seriously do with 14 games left?
We can start to put together good games to kind of lead into next year. I don't think we're going to be out there winning a bunch of games, but we can start to put together kind of the team that we want to see leading forward or going forward. I wouldn't suggest trading anybody like Hank feels. Like, I never feel like that's a good decision. What happened? You trade Bradley Chubb. He goes out. The other team finds a way to pay him. Now he's a part of this 50-point loss that he just dogged you guys with. Like,
what a day for Bradley.
There was actually so many Broncos guys on the sidelines, from Alexander Johnson to Eric Studesville. Like, it felt like it was half the Broncos' old team. Vic Fangio, who is somebody that has this in his pocket for the rest of his life. Like
Andrew Beck, 87-yard touchdown. Not with the Dolphins, but
it's
there's
true.
Another big day for former Broncos.
I think that's a great question that you bring up, and that's something that will probably be our entire podcast, maybe even tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned and roll with us. But that's a great question. Where do you go from here?
That is.
Justin says TD was right. Todd Davis was right. 2 days in Miami, them boys looked hungover.
Yeah, they were a little bit all over the place. Couldn't catch their balance to start. You know, when you're drinking and it's hot, that's when you're really lit. So, I don't know.
That is true. Stephen Sholey says, how does anyone have anything good to say about Vance Joseph? Fire him now. Don't even try to defend him. Burn him and George... Bum.
Yep.
Him and George Payton should be
like,
gone.
No.
We're not chanting for that. Loser franchise stuck at the bottom of the trash pile.
Yeah. To me, you got to make the move. I know. I mean, it probably doesn't make a huge difference, but I mean, what are you playing for if not for like doing what you can? Like, again, it's a Sean Payton thing. It's nice to get that small bump on offense. That small bump doesn't do shit when you give up 70 points.
Yeah. And we found that thing on Hackett last year. I mean, he was terrible, but it didn't do anything. It's not like we kept a single coach from that staff.
Exactly.
Like, nothing that was done in those last couple of games showed us like anything positive to where somebody that was underneath him needed to be promoted or kept on staff. So I just don't get all the firing and trading during the season, I don't think it really helps.
It's just tough because you've got 14 meaningless games coming up, and so what does anything matter at this point?
Rick says, can't blame Russ at all when he's running off his spot every play. Bulls needs to go ASAP. We need trenches, O-line and D-line. It's not like the Broncos didn't try. They spent over $30 million a year on their offensive line this offseason. They went out and paid Zach Allen $15 million. You're right, they need to be better, but it's not like they haven't tried, and now they're stuck with those contracts for a while.
Yep.
Russ continues to look good. I mean, that pass to Cortland Sutton when he bought time, ran out of the pocket, bought time, then threw a strike to Cortland. That was nice.
And to me, the offense still looks close. I think that there's enough that's going well. Like I think that the problems offensively are fixable, and that's at least a starting point. To me, the defensive line is what's egregious. Like there's no push, there's no penetration. Like you're not freeing up the linebackers to make plays. But yeah, like it's not all the defensive line today. As Sean says, dirt on everybody's hands.
Yeah, that's for sure. Steven says again, Steven says, trade everyone not named Marvin Mims. Start the rebuild.
Yeah.
Conversation we're going to be having probably way sooner than we thought this week on
How
the
do you
podcast.
fix it? I have no idea.
Hey, do you burn
How do
it
you
all
get
to
the
the
Broncos
ground?
to a Super Bowl?
Exactly. Broker Mavity says, fire Vance Joseph in all caps. I turned the Avs preseason hockey on after halftime. I was so mad.
Yeah. Sold my tickets for $12 each today.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the comment section, let me know when it turned from anger to like just again like
Laughter.
hysterical. Yeah, just like you laugh so you don't cry. Let us know. Bradley says, why was Russ left in the game when he was getting killed? Was Sean trying to bounty-gate his own quarterback? So many questions about awful coaching today. That's another question about coaching. Henry agrees with it. I don't agree with it. It would have been awful. I guess I don't have to touch wood, but I'm touching wood that no one got hurt from that, because that just would have been inexcusable in my opinion.
Yeah, but again, like, got 14 meaningless games. Like, you're not. If somebody gets hurt, it really doesn't matter. You know,
Hurts their trade stock if that's what you're looking to do.
It hurts your trade stock, I guess. But again, like,
Is Russ's trade stock high?
Probably not for
exactly.
us, no.
And then that's where, again, where it's like if they really do burn it all down and trade everybody, what that really means is you'd make like 2 or 3 trades at the trade deadline. You know?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe you lose one of those guys you would have otherwise traded, but you got to make them. It's a form of accountability, you know. And I wouldn't have minded if they pulled him. I don't really care either way. I don't care what you do when you're down by 40, honestly.
What about when you're down 50?
50, no, still don't care. Still don't care. Do whatever you want.
I can't believe they lost by 50.
Send all 11 on blitzes. What's the difference?
Goodness. Next one coming from, we just hit that one. From Bradley Howard says, why the hell was Russ left in? Oh, we just hit that one
yes.
as well. Yeah, you're really losing it today.
Oh,
Bad
no.
coaching on his end.
Damn.
Evan says, as Broncos fans, we have overvalued our players. Enough is enough. We don't have the talent, and I'm sick of blaming coaching and quarterbacks. Judy and Sutton suck. No playmakers on defense. No X factor on offense. And Evan, I think that's kind of the tough realization that we're coming to. Maybe not all of those points, but definitely that it's not one thing.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like Court. 3 plays away from just having an unbelievable game. One of the games of his career. You know, if Brandon Johnson doesn't get called for that PI, there's a second touchdown. He doesn't make those 2 fumbles.
4 plays then.
2 fumbles.
What about the ball that went right through his hands in the end zone?
True.
That'd be right
True.
through his hands.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to debate that one.
You
It
can't
doesn't matter.
excuse that.
He's
It went
falling to
right
the-
through his hands.
Oh yeah, no, it's a bad play. He needs to make the catch.
But
there you go.
As a wide receiver, you can't have outside of 3 really bad plays, he had a great game.
Exactly.
You can't have that.
Exactly. But again, to me, he did the hard parts. He just didn't do the easy parts. And that's what makes it so frustrating, is that it was just right there for him, but fumbles. How do you fumbles as a receiver?
Broker again says, do the Broncos make you sad like they do to me? Enjoy a nice cold Breck brew. There's always something to down the blues away. But don't drink and drive. Yes, absolutely.
Very
Drink
smart, very
responsibly, especially when we're telling you about these delicious beverages. Mr. Told You says, what happened? Jokic didn't play today?
I miss him. He'll be back soon.
Yeah, he will be back soon. Andrew says, This loss is all on the defense. If it's 70 points being put up, Vance Joseph had a Super Bowl defense as head coach and ruined that defense as well.
No, our defense was still good.
It was.
When we had Vance. We were still solid. I think Vance's first stint here was all about the quarterback. We had a rotating carousel at quarterback, and I think it was just a bad luck, but I don't think he ruined our defense, so I can't give you that. But this defense right now is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony says, what the hell? Please, Todd, help him out. What the hell?
Yeah,
Wow.
we might need a poll. Should the Broncos hire Todd to be defensive coordinator or to be like a player?
I'm not taking the promotion, though. I don't want this on my resume.
That's how tough it is right now. Mile High Sign says, Sean's tanking for Caleb Williams. It's obvious. So that's also kind of like, yeah, would you like Caleb Williams? Yes. But the quarterback isn't the issue.
That's a crazy thing.
The quarterback's not the issue now.
No,
Would I rather
no.
have Caleb Williams next year at age 21 or whatever than Russell Wilson? Yes. But just imagine how awful this team is going to be around Caleb Williams. If you draft Caleb Williams and then you cut or trade Russ, and then you have massive cap hits. So you're not only having this roster,
yeah.
you're not able to add to this roster, plus you're cutting players from this roster in order to get rid of Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, you might get him killed with the lack of talent you're going to have around him.
And without running through the numbers exactly, like if you want to move on from Russ this offseason, you like Cortland's gone, Tim's gone, Garrett Bowles gone, and then probably Jerry too, because his is all guaranteed. And you do those 4 things, and that covers the first half. So the cap hit's basically split over 2 years from moving on from Russ. That's what you do to pay for it this year. And I guess those savings might carry over to the next year, but then you're not replacing any of those guys either. So you're just down a left tackle, you're down all 3 receivers, and you don't have any replacements. And you're throwing Caleb Williams into that. And that just, again, if you have the opportunity to take Caleb Williams, you do it in an instant. But you're looking at like a 2-3 win season.
I mean, that's just why this conversation on where did they go from here is going to be interesting. And one
Exactly.
we're definitely going to dive into very deep many times starting this week. Maximilian says, as an Australian, I'm really glad I chose to wake up at 3 a.m. for that
Dang.
burning turd of a game.
I would have went back to sleep, man.
Yep.
At what point?
Well, he woke up at 3, probably like 3:45.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yep.
probably would have done it. Jacob Weddle says, this is an all-time embarrassment. Heads need to roll. Bringing Vance Joseph back was the worst mistake we've made in a long time. He needs to be gone ASAP. If not, that means Sean Payton is mailing it in this year for Caleb Williams. Wonder what Rex Ryan's going to have to say on the airwaves this week if he thought it was bad last week.
Yeah, we're getting a viral clip from Rex
Oh,
Ryan.
without a doubt.
Yep.
Without a
Without a
doubt.
doubt.
Next one from Drake. He says, here's to the point differential and DNVR and a
Cheers.
massive super chat
Yeah.
from Drake. He's matching the point differential for the Broncos this year.
Thanks,
we
Drake.
really appreciate that massive super chat. And we also really appreciate all of these super chats from everyone. And next one from Andrew says, good news. I know to start any running back against the Broncos defense in fantasy.
Ooh,
That's what's so disappointing. Me and Todd were talking about it during the game.
Yeah,
It's like
here's-
they took nothing away.
nothing.
The Broncos
Absolutely
took,
nothing.
I mean, obviously they gave up 70 points, but when you're down like 21-7, you're like, whoa, they haven't taken anything away. And like you just got to like commit to the run game, take the run away. You'll give up a couple deep balls, but at least like there's something that you've got going. They took nothing away.
You got to make teams one-dimensional.
Yeah.
That way you can really scheme against what they do best and try to force them to, like what I don't know. What the Dolphins do best is pass the ball.
Yeah.
So you try to make them run, but I guess you don't want to make them run because then they have 350 yards.
Maybe-
Imagine if Jalen Waddle played.
Oh my God.
But the thing
Oh
is,
my
like,
God.
I don't know that it would have made a difference. Like, because again, like when you just give up a touchdown every time, what difference could be made, you know?
Even
But
more holes.
thinking back through it, they didn't give up many deep passes. There was the one to Robbie Anderson or Chosen Anderson.
Should we clap for that? Or
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Though, is like
That's our one
they
bright
get these
spot.
massive gains, but Tyreek Hill, like he never got behind.
30.
Or he did
30,
that the first
yeah.
play. He did get behind him, and that was Delarian Turner-Yell making a mistake.
How about that? That feels like ages ago.
What?
Yeah.
The touchdown to start the game with a minute into the game. That felt like that was going to be the bad part of the game.
Yeah.
9 touchdowns later, we forget about it.
10 touchdowns
Wild,
in one game.
wild.
Wow. How many-
So really quick, speaking of the running backs, their backup running back had over 200 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. It's because the starter got hurt, right? No, the starter also had 4 total touchdowns.
Yeah.
Insane.
8 touchdowns for running backs is rough.
That's one way to put it. You said Eric Studesville is the running backs coach
Yeah.
down there.
Ah, hey,
What's
good
he
for him.
Knows what
drinking
he's
tonight?
doing.
Oh my
It's a great
goodness.
brew for show. For show.
Yes. Chop says we need to face the truth. Vance is terrible. No need to be patient. We need to trade everyone. We need to restart, and the best way is to draft Caleb Williams.
If we trade everyone and restart, you guys know, like, this is like a 3-year thing. It's not like we just trade everyone and get Caleb Williams next year and then we go to the Super Bowl. Like, we're still, either way we go, whether we trade everyone or we find a way to make Russ work, get some new pieces in, get a new DC, whatever you guys want to do, like, either way, this is like a 3-year fix.
Yeah.
And 3 years is probably optimistic because then you're going young. Like you're probably looking at Caleb Williams, 5 years before he enters his prime, and then you say like if it's all rookies, you say that same thing 5-6 years until they enter their like 3 years is Caleb Williams is everything you could hope he'd be, and guess what? The Broncos made perfect moves everywhere else. Like it's 3 years, hopefully.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself too: did Sean Payton take this job for a total rebuild?
No, heck
I
no.
don't think so. Yeah, heck no. Next one from Matthew says, sorry, gentlemen, you cannot convince me this was not on purpose. I watched Red Zone, so didn't fully watch the game, but every Dolphins clip, you can clearly see there was zero effort. Hashtag tank 4. I don't care. Yeah, this wouldn't be like a 90-man tank job operation. That doesn't
script.
happen.
It was
Yeah.
the script.
It was a script.
They got
yeah.
the script and-
Damn, too bad we didn't get our hands on that before. Governing Boredom says Caleb Williams to Marvin Mims is going to be beautiful. Man, Caleb Williams trending.
Yeah.
in,
Former teammates.
You're right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm right,
How
yeah.
about that?
Yeah. Maybe you get Lincoln Riley. I mean, too soon to be saying Sean's out. But
Wow.
then, actually, Marvin didn't like Lincoln. He was going to transfer if Lincoln Riley stayed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, then, do you want Caleb Williams? You probably still do.
Yeah, I want Caleb Williams.
Imagine if this is how last year started with Nathaniel. If this was any coach but Sean Payton, and everything happened this way, everyone would be calling not for
Yep.
Vance Joseph's
Oh,
job.
yeah.
They would be calling for Sean Payton's job.
Yep.
5-year, $100 million contract kind of
Yeah.
helps cool the seat a little bit for
Yes.
you.
Also, just the history. You know what he's capable of.
What I know he's capable of this year is not looking
definitely.
good. OPMG says 1, fire Vance. 2, hire Rex Ryan. 3, Mathis is not ready to start opposite of PS2. 4, we need linebackers bad. Hey, Todd, how you been, bro? What you been up to? You want to join?
I've definitely still been working out,
Oh.
If it's an opportunity, I'm never going to shy away from it, so maybe.
So would you rather be a player on this team and just get the paycheck and live through this season, or be the defensive coordinator and have to put this on
on
your
this
record?
specific team?
Yes.
A player, for sure.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would rather get my check and go home.
Yeah.
And
Probably
be
get a
like,
bigger check, too, at this point.
Yeah. And just say, that's not on me, man.
Yeah.
It's 11
We
of
had
us
some
out there.
coaching. Yeah.
We'll welcome you back on this pod in what would that be? Second week of
Tuesdays.
January? Coming
Yeah.
Tuesdays. There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
I'll come after Pat.
You can call in every post game from the locker room.
Ah,
God.
There we go. William says Sean is successfully fixing Russ and tanking at the same time.
Well, he
Interesting.
did do a really good job of making Alberto visible enough to be traded and show what he can do just to get him going.
Yeah.
You never know.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Broker says someone find the Silver Fox himself, Wade Phillips, and bring him to fix the defense. Well, he's still coaching ball right now. He's just down
yeah.
in Houston in the XFL, so you could get him back.
I mean,
Or do you think he doesn't want to take this
He
job?
don't want this right now
exactly. Like
either.
XFL, like that's retirement. Like he goes down there, has some fun, like coaches some football. If he wanted to be in the NFL, he'd be in the NFL.
Yeah.
Wow. Brett says, as we talk about the lack of talent on this team, George Payton's job status needs evaluated. He is in charge of acquiring talent. I think his job's evaluated. I think
Yeah.
we understand where it is. They could make a move on him right now, but I mean, I think he'll just do that at the end of the season.
Exactly. And, you know, he obviously didn't do a great job putting this roster together. I think that's played out. But Sean still might say, in terms of like who I want, like looking at the draft board and stuff, there's a chance that he still wants that opinion because you're not getting a top GM probably to come in and be your number 2. So if you want to basically give him a demotion, like it's still, but he's obviously going to be gone at the end of the season. There's just no reason to do it now.
I mean, here's the thing. We already know where Sean Payton's going to go to get the next GM of the Broncos. He's going to go back to New Orleans, back to the people that he's worked with in the past. So I don't think that search will be difficult at all. Danimal says, there's one thing and one thing only that can raise my spirit in these dark times. Zach, he wants me to say Chahuha instead of Chihuahua. So I hope I raise your spirits there, Danimal. Not that way, the Zach way. We are now healed. One time I read Chihuahua as Chahuha, and some people have
That's
not
rough.
let me live it down.
Chahuha
as
is
we
rough.
can see. Chris, just a super chat.
Your face is so red.
Thank you,
Chahuha.
Chris, for the super chat.
Yes, thank you.
Steve says, looking forward to the tailgate in Chicago next week. Kind of wishing I'd saved money on the tickets, though. Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to be in Chicago.
See you out there.
For the tailgate to see the Broncos either get their first win of the season or potentially their most embarrassing. Did they get their most embarrassing
No.
loss of the season next week?
No.
This is it.
They
This
just
is
gave
it.
up 70 points.
Okay, I think next week could be worse. We'll talk about that this week.
There's
too.
no way. It's impossible.
Okay, next one going for Chris again. He says, it's hard to get excited to watch this team. I have season tickets and wish I could get a refund.
Yeah.
We've already seen like many thousands of no-shows at the Broncos' first two games. Very curious what that Jets game's going to be like with no Aaron Rodgers. The sizzle's not going to be there on the field. Maybe people show up to count the play clock down for Nathaniel Hackett, but maybe they'll need to count it down for the Broncos instead.
Can they still use like COVID as like a reason for refund? Like they're too scared to go to
it's
the
coming back.
games. COVID's coming back.
I'm sick. You don't want me there.
Right.
Yeah. I have heard some other season ticket holders say, like, I don't want these. I wish I don't want to buy them. I want to cancel them. I also don't want to wait 35 years on a wait list to get them back. And so they kind of feel trapped.
Yeah.
Which, that's just the world we live in.
Broncos country's great, even when the Broncos aren't. Line them up. Hits us with the super chat. Says, are the Broncos officially the worst team in the league? Well, let's look around the scoreboard now. The Cardinals, the 0-2 Cardinals, who many people think are the worst team in the league, are beating the Cowboys 18-10 heading into halftime. So
all field goals.
And they were up against the Giants.
Giants. Yep.
They played a close game in Washington.
Yep. So that's actually a good conversation we probably need to break down this week. Man, a lot of bad conversations we need to break down this week, but that's what happens. Lavelle says, why does Sutton fall every catch? He's too goofy.
I mean, you saw, there was one play he could have gotten out of bounds, decided to run, picked up a couple extra yards, and he fumbled. So, what do you want him to go down? You want him to run like he fumbled twice when he was running? I don't know what the answer is.
Next one from Drink Music says, Broncos offense only scored 13 points.
You're right.
That sucks.
I mean, yeah.
That's true.
Man, I mean, yeah, you look and you're like, yeah, Russ was like definitely not the issue. 13 points scored.
Yeah.
Black Marvel says, Peyton trashed Russ since he showed up just to lose like this. If you get Caleb Williams, you'll still be terrible for 2 years because your offensive line sucks and your defense is worse. Who tanks with a $200 million quarterback? The Arizona Cardinals?
I still can't believe that they paid him before he took a snap.
Yeah.
You have to, though. He wouldn't have accepted the trade if you weren't saying, like, because he wanted the extension from the Seahawks, too.
The fact, though,
Like
is once you didn't do the extension right when you traded for him, I don't think you had to do it right before. What was he going to do? Sit out if you didn't give him the contract right before the season started? No, he wasn't going to. And do you know who gave him that contract? It was not Nathaniel Hackett. It was not the brand new owners that had been in place for a week.
Yep.
It was George Payton. So tough. And the tough thing is that contract still sucks. And Russ is like one of the few bright spots on this team, which is just such a bummer. And last super chat coming in, one of the last few super chats coming in from Muse Musician says, Tank, can't argue, historically bad, only option.
Yeah. Again, like, I'm typically against the tank because it's never really worked before, like ever. You know, people point to like, well, the Colts were able to go get Andrew Luck, but I'm talking like you gotta get a championship out of it. Like, no team has ever tanked and then had that been like, oh yeah, look, we did it. And again, there's like weird things that happen, but when you're sitting here at 70 to 20, why not? Like what is the direction if not that? Like, I don't know. Because you might not even need to tank to go get Caleb Williams. You just gave up 70 points.
Just play.
Exactly. You might just go out there and get him.
Danimal says, I know how to fix the team. Be sure to read my comments on the pod this week. It will be a 2-part series and get my office ready at the bar. There we go, Danimal. And is that it you hear? No. Miranda chimes in and says, Todd, does a group of guys take on a coach's personality? I like Vance as a man, but he seems mild-mannered. This defense looks pretty mild-mannered.
Yeah, I think you do take on the attributes of the coach that you play for. So, yeah, I think everything that Vance is, but I feel like we had him a time before, so I can't just say that, you know, this is all his personality that's making him bad. Like, we definitely feel like we took on Vance's persona the first time, and I feel like we played really well as a defense for the most part. So it's a little bit of everything, man. Like we said, I think we maybe have overvalued some of the players on this roster a little bit, and we're starting to see, like, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were.
That's very, very true. Josh Johnson says, as loyal fans, we deserve better. My family has a separate group chat during Sundays talking about if I'm doing okay these days. So sad, man. But he does end it with a laughing, crying emoji. Well, so it's good to hear from you, Josh. Hang in there, and we're here for you. We're here for you. Thank you for the super chat. The coochie. Well, no, that was a part I shouldn't have said.
What the hell said?
I meant to say the monster. I'm sorry. Says, says we are absolute cheeks again.
Poo-poo with cheese.
Yeah, that's a bad team. Oh,
we need to get out of here.
We keep sneaking one more in.
Lebo says, don't tank.
We just gotta get quick
play
after this.
Was hilarious. Is that it you hear? We did it. We did it. Unlike the Broncos, we were able to finish the job and not lose by 50. And it was all thanks to you guys for tuning in with us. We really appreciate all of your support. We're going to be going live, breaking down any moves the Broncos make or breaking down Sean's defense or non-defense of this tomorrow. We'll be going live at 11 a.m., so stay tuned to the DNVR Broncos podcast. Thank you all so much for the support, even when the Broncos are awful. Have a great Sunday.